So we've talked about the customer circumstance, the buyer journey, and biopsychology along that buyer journey already. So the next step is to put all that together for you for your business. Here's how to map the customer circumstance along the buyer journey to prioritize your efforts. Here's a simple buyer journey, from buyer need through to close. And of course, we aren't making that all too common mistake that the close deal is not at the end of the buyer journey. The buyer must see value from your solution, and then that buyer journey will actually start to look more cyclical. By looking at your changed customer circumstance, you can map out your top customer circumstances along that buyer journey. Reflecting circumstance into the different needs, the options that the buyer may look at, and how to set your criteria into the evaluation process. It changes also your win strategy if your competition is different, for example, as now you become clearer on the customer circumstance that you are addressing. It impacts the business case requirements of your buyer as well, and what the revenue engine team members in bold need to do to address these requirements. Importantly, it's reflected in the implementation as time to value to satisfy that customer circumstance that your customer is in. I've seen many customer implementations go awry when they hand over to the implementation or customer success team and this is missed or it's poor communication. If there's a breakdown in an understanding of what's important to that new customer and the real need that they're expecting to fulfill through that implementation. So you can map out onto your buyer journey that buyer psychology now. Remember, the buyer psychology maps the emotions or risk, price sensitivity, technical needs, and it affects how your salespeople need to alter their behavior at different times in the life cycle to support that customer effectively. You can start by putting your buyer psychology into 3 phases: needs, proof, risk. The complexity involved in the buyer journey also increases when you remember that each person involved, say in enterprise customers and that buyer journey, will be at a different stage in their own buyer psychology. So someone may be towards the end of their buyer journey and be focused on getting close to a selection, and with that, the increased risk of how that implementation would work and if that's the right decision in fact. Whereas others might then come in, say senior executives, who get involved later in the buyer journey and they haven't been through all the earlier stages of that buyer psychology. This causes issues with salespeople who you may hear in exacerbation say, "We've done a demo already," and they are asking about the functionality that we've already addressed. It's a typical sign that a new player has come in and they're involved from the buyer side, but they haven't been through that same emotional buyer journey that your main contact has been. So let's look at a specific example where the buyer researches options on your buyer journey. And we'll look at that from each of the revenue engine team's perspective. Marketing. So we've got content marketing, inbound marketing, email marketing, social media, brand marketing strategies. All should be focused on the circumstance for your buyer to compete with others. If sales does not have competitors when you're competing, you are really competing. Either they're against the status quo or do nothing. You are always competing for a customer, so prioritize your marketing activities where your holes are along that buyer journey to increase the opportunity to win with your chosen customer circumstance in mind. Sales. Inbound sales strategies to support inbound marketing often falter here. It takes a lot of people effort when you focus on volume of inbound marketing, like a lot of people do. And clear qualification of marketing qualified leads to inbound sales or inside sales often causes issues because of misalignment in expectations. To overcome this issue or to prevent it from happening inside your organization, you should focus on the customer circumstance your buyer is in to align sales and marketing efforts, as we've discussed previously. It's a huge area of contention between sales and marketing, mainly because sales is focused on finding those people that are at that point to take action. So focusing on the circumstance rather than that white paper and did that customer download that white paper and counting it as a marketing qualified lead. Focus on your circumstance. So you want to use content marketing to engage your salespeople with potential buyers earlier in the buyer process, certainly prior to the buyer prioritizing their needs. If they prioritize their needs, your sales team has a very small window to influence that buyer on that prioritization. This shows up as buyers kicking tires to gather information, and your sales team aren't involved in the needs prioritization process of that buyer. It can lead to a lot of extra work and effort, and you can become what we'll call column B in the buyer's mind. Column B is when your buyer lists all the things they believe they need and includes timing, effort, and risk in their mind. Column A is the preferred choice of this, whereas column B is the second choice. Once the buyer gets into this mindset though, it's hard to move from column B to column A. Often the buyer needs some kind of comparison to prove to their decision-making committee or management team that they have done their due diligence. It's not a level playing field if your competitor has worked with the buyer on column A needs and criteria and you have not. With field or direct sales, the most important job they have at this point is persuasion. As deal sizes increase and as you move up market, or if you're disrupting a long-standing belief of the way things are done, then persuasion skills are paramount for your sales team's success. Understand and planning out target accounts is a key factor to know where and how to influence and persuade your buyer. Don't make the mistake of counting the number of demos delivered as a priority metric for your inside or inbound sales team. You want to focus on moving the needle on value-added discussions, as the measure of quality of that lead will then increase. From a pre-sales perspective, the pre-sales role at this point in time is one of education. That's the basis of their credibility with this potential customer. As you work to deliver value-added conversations around your customer circumstance in the sales discussion, the pre-sales teams need to move from doing volume of standard demos delivered as a measure of success to that of educating buyers. At this point, the pre-sales people must keep in mind where the buyer's mind is from a buyer psychology standpoint. So sales and pre-sales need to work together to ensure they're aligned. Volume is a poor measure. Quality conversations tailored to that customer and their circumstances needed and can be very effective even with standard demos. Customer success. Customer success is often left out of this part of the process, but they can support it by focusing on what measures of success current customers have and how they prioritize them. As you focus on value add in customer conversations, your customer success team needs to become an important part in that selling process. They have that understanding and credibility. I have seen customer interviews where current customers say how great the tool is or service is, but they don't quantify it enough for sales to link that experience to a buyer's circumstance. It's a mistake to avoid, so ensure that you have measures that support the dependencies across your entire revenue engine. We use the supporting lines measurement and coaching concept to coordinate teams around the value-added customer circumstance for that customer specifically. We'll share more about supporting lines in an upcoming video. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you want to learn more, please contact us. We'll be happy to help. We look forward to being able to help you add resiliency into your revenue engine from lead to renewal. You can also contact me directly at chris_fletcher@howurdu.com.